Oh dear me, I just made this video and messed it up, man. Ah, I'm going to tell you a brief anecdote and then come to a point and then to a bigger point. Yesterday, I played bowls. I'm a novice and I'm not serious. I don't have the kit. I don't have the balls, the nothing. I'm just dabbling. But I thoroughly enjoy it, and perhaps one day I'll take it seriously. I bowled yesterday evening. And when you bowl, as we did, we were 6 people. So we made 2 teams of 3. So we bowled. What you do is you split it. You have those ends. I'm sure if you've ever seen a bowling video, you see they change sides. Okay, so we had the 2 captains, opposing captains, bowling from one end, and then the rest of us, 2 pairs of opponents. Our one captain is down there and we're 2 over here. He and his opponent bowl towards us. We watch the balls come in. We, give advice at 2 meters, 4 meters, whatever. When they've had 3 turns, then we go to that end, and they come to this end, and we have 3 turns each, the 4 of us. And they give us advice as we're bowling towards the white ball to the jack. More grass, bietjie vet, bietjie maar. Jy's bang, ek sien jy's bang. Okay. At one point in the proceedings, the 2 captains were on the near side, that is to say by the clubhouse. The 4 of us were at this side. I was playing with, obviously, one of the captains and his wife. So we would stand next to one another when he's bowling. And we want to see his performance. Where's the ball coming? We'll move 2 steps this way, 4 steps that way. And lo and behold, some street urchins, not literally street urchins, but going by appearances they could have been, came up to the fence and yelled to those 2 guys, please buy muffins. So he, I suppose in the spirit of amity, good relations with the community, does that. The next thing, he went to buy some muffins. And his wife, standing next to me, began to grumble, to put it mildly. They'd come in 2 separate buckies. And the first thing she said was, those things are not going home in my bucky. You can forget about it. But this is not loud now. It's just I and perhaps the other 2, our 2 opponents, perhaps could hear it. But she was not happy. And in the typical Afrikaans turn of phrase of this part of the world, that unhappiness was very funny to listen to. Then she was going on about how she's not having them in her house, this and that. He buys the muffins. They bowl at 2 last balls or whatever they had left to bowl. We changed ends. He says to his wife as we pass one another on the grass, please buy the last of the kids' muffins. So she, of course, was not keen, but she went to find her purse. Now we go to where they have been bowling from so that we can bowl. He'd put the muffins down just behind where he was bowling from. So the first thing we saw when we got there was these muffins. They were too horrible for words. And besides the fact that they were horrible, misshapen, broken to pieces, just crumbs and horrible color, just white flour, you could tell from a distance, not cooked brilliantly either. They had been put in plastic bags. Now in this this upper Karoo, Boer Karoo, Northern Cape heat, can you imagine how they sweated? Revolting. So to keep the peace, she buys muffins, puts them down, and proceeds to continue to grumble about how those things are not going anywhere near her house And the very next thing she's going to do is disinfect her hands, and I can't say that I blame her. That's just an anecdote. It was funny at the time. But in the same context, a conversation cropped up about Eskom. I can't remember how it began, but to cut a long story short, this man, my captain, with whose wife I, was up and down, the three of us on one team, this man who's a farmer, said that the local farmers, he didn't use the word district, I can't remember, but it was a very particular phrase, like the local co-op team or whatever, but the farmers who, of this area, who do the same thing and who sell in the same place and what use the same water as one another, had made an assessment of their crops following the Eskom blackouts of the past couple of months. Now, given that this is irrigated farming as opposed to dry land crop farming, dry land is when you just wait for the rain to fall. Hope. Faith. These guys draw water from the Orange River with enormous pumps. And they have to give their crops, certainly the maize, mealies, 12 or 12.5 millimeters a day, reliably, dependably. You can't miss it. And I've got a bit of a brief rundown on how necessary it is to never miss. Or to miss, maybe once or twice, but you can't, not 3 days or what. And we've had this heat wave, as you may know, of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks ago. So it was imperative that they got all of the irrigation they could, which they did not because of Eskom. And they have, apparently, the average of all of these farmers down is 4 tons a hectare. 4 tons a hectare. Now, to give you some idea, the best irrigated lands, of course there are exceptions, but this is a table by a South African fertilizer supplier. So they know what they're talking about, they know the country, they know the performances, they know the farmers, they know the farms, they know the irrigation. And there may be people who get 18 tons a hectare, I suppose, but their table terminates at 16 tons a hectare. They say when you input the very most that you can possibly of fertilizer and pesticide, I don't know what all, you may expect at most 16 tons a hectare. Exceptions aside. And not less than 11 tons. So let's take an average of 16 minus 11 is 5. 11 plus 2.5 is 13.5. Let's work on 13 to be conservative. 13 tons a hectare minus 4 is a loss of roughly 30%. Let's make it 25. These farmers, just as a result of the Eskom troubles, harvest, I can think of the Afrikaans words but not the English, harvests are down 25%. And he told me that the only reason they're not further down is because we've had such good rains recently in this Van der Kloof, Oranje, Hopetown streek. But can you imagine the most productive farmland in South Africa That's how badly affected it was. The most productive farmland because they draw water from the Orange River. Living water, healthy water. My sons and I canoed down the river once for 3 days, and we drank river water constantly, and we experienced no tummy troubles at all. So that gives you some idea of the quality of the water. Besides the fact that it's living water, it's good living water. No chlorine, what. So these guys may be said to be among the very best farmers, or have the very best farms in South Africa. And they're talking about a 25% reduction in crops. I'm going to make another video, and I'm going to put this one in the series of the Queenstown conversation, the previous video that I did. But I'm going to make another one to share some more information with you without making the videos too long, which I do tend to do. That either came out of the conversation at Bowles yesterday, or the conversation of this morning, to which I alluded in my previous video entitled Queenstown, with the highly educated farmer journalist duty that I spoke to for, as I told you in the previous videos, 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 26 seconds today. There are enormous events occurring in the world. Absolutely enormous. And we need to wake up to them very rapidly. I'm not saying that we should panic over a possible increase in maize. That journalist was telling me, and I didn't tell him this story. Oh, I did, I beg your pardon. But he said to me that, being a journalist in a number of fields, one of which is agriculture, very highly, that's why I can't, I have to be discreet in the way that I describe him. You could find him on the shelves tomorrow. He said to me that he wouldn't be surprised, he's not predicting this, but he wouldn't be surprised if in this year the price of a bag of mealie meal went to over 200 Rand. Now, is he talking about the 10 kg bag or the 12.5 kg bag? Let's assume that it's the 12.5. Those are the two kind of, family pack size bags that poor people will buy to last them a month. 12.5 kgs. And I've told you, in recent years, I encouraged people to go to Macro to buy the 47.99 or 46.99 on special 12.5 kg bag of mealie meal. Now imagine if in 2021 you were paying 48 Rand, 47, call it 50, man, call it 60. 75. And in 2023, you find yourself having to afford it at 220 Rand a bag. Now, he's not saying that will happen. He's saying that he wouldn't be surprised if it did. If the knock that the farming sector has taken from the Eskom problems didn't lead to such a drastic increase in the price of yellow mealies. He's speaking as a let's say a scholarly journalist, a journalist who specializes in analytical descriptions of, among other things, farming, agriculture, and so on. So there you go, guys. If that's not enough to give all of us a fright, then I don't know what is. All right. Cheerio. Goodbye. God bless you.